Hi, I'm Steve Adubato. Welcome to the WNET Tisch studio here in the heart of New York City. It's my pleasure to welcome Brandon Webb, the author of a book called Among Heroes, a U.S. Navy SEAL's true story of friendship, heroism, and the ultimate sacrifice. Former Navy SEAL and SEAL sniper head instructor. Good to have you with us.
Thanks for having me, Steve.
This book is a powerful book about?
It's about 8 teammates that I serve with since my time in the SEAL teams, and really just about me sharing my experiences and what I learned from serving with these amazing guys, and trying to share their stories in a positive way that impacts people and gives them ability to improve their own lives.
You shared their stories, people like Glen Doherty.
Yeah.
Tell everyone who Glen was.
Glen was one of my best friends. He's a guy from Boston that almost turned a professional as a skier, went into the Navy at 25, and we served at SEAL Team 3 together. We went to sniper school together. We surfed together, climbed mountains, flew planes together. We're both avid pilots, and you know, inside the Navy, outside the Navy, Glen was just an amazing human being, and one of the 2 SEALs that gave their lives protecting the State Department diplomats in Benghazi, Libya.
He was?
Yeah.
With Ambassador Stevens?
Correct.
He was one of them?
Yeah, he was one of the SEALs.
TJ Tumbleson?
Yeah, JT, a lot of people will remember JT from that photograph of his chocolate lab,
Yeah.
Hawkeye, that walked down the aisle and laid next to his coffin during the service. Just an amazing guy. JT was a class leader.
JT, not TJ.
Yeah, JT.
Yeah, that's him.
Yeah, JT was just one of the most stoic, quiet, professional people I've known, and was a favorite of mine. Was probably one of the best class leaders. As an instructor, we assign a senior student, and he was a class leader for one of my classes, and just an incredible human being.
Matt Axelson.
Matt, many people know Matt through the story that my friend Marcus wrote, Lone Survivor. Matt was one of the men on the hill that day that lost his life. Again, just, you know, one of the most talented students and that I'd put through the sniper program. Always first to raise his hand and volunteer for something. Would never join in any of the kind of banter, you know, the day-to-day banter, but guys just really respected him because of his accomplishments and his ability to be such a professional as a sniper and a team member.
What happened?
He was on that Operation Red Wings mission, and they were just outnumbered on the hill. And
They had no chance, did they?
No chance, just extremely outnumbered, outgunned. But, you know, Matt was a guy that fought to the very end. You know, his injuries, I remember we had interviewed one of the guys that had rescued him, the Air Force pararescue members, and they said it was just unbelievable that somebody had sustained the injuries that he had, was able to fire and maneuver. And they made that observation when they recovered him on the hill a while later. But just an amazing guy.
Chris Campbell?
Chris was a small little guy, and we were in buds together. And I remember we found up, we'd both screwed something up during the diving phase of training, and we wound up in this.
Is that him?
Yeah, that's Chris. We wound up in this dip tank where we rinse gear off, and we were up to our necks in cold water, shivering at 2 a.m. And I looked over, I was just miserable, and Chris just had this big smile on his face, and he was that kind of guy. He just was able to just cheer up anybody in the room, and regardless of the situation, how miserable it was, Chris was just always able to find, you know, he'd just have a big grin on his face.
You know, writing this book, there are some who have argued that you have broken the code. You have broken the code, the SEAL code, of not talking as publicly as you've been talking about these things, you say.
Yeah, you know, we have a SEAL ethos, which does apply, and I believe in when you're on active duty. But as long as, I have no problem when guys get out of the military and they submit the book for official Department of Defense review. I mean, that's what the review process is for, so guys can share the stories. And I think it's important that the stories are shared with America. You look at how many men and women we've lost since 9/11, and just amazing men and women. And if we don't share these stories and really show the sacrifice that these men and women have made themselves and the sacrifice that their families have had to go through, I mean, how else are we going to, in America, learn and really acknowledge that?
But at the same time, you've also said, you told our producers, and you've also said that you're not a fan of, with our Navy SEALs, with those who have served as SEALs, creating them as mythical figures and such heroic figures that they become so distant to us.
I think it's important to show, and what I try to do in Among Heroes is really show the human side of these guys, that we aren't.
Why do we need to know that? Why can't we just look at them as extraordinary heroes who are so unlike the rest of us?
Well, I think the extraordinary part is there, but people need to understand, like, these were small children that were raised by incredible parents, and how they grew up and experienced life, and had they been around, what would they still be doing? Like my friend Chris Cassidy now, was a platoon commander of mine in Afghanistan, who's one of the second Navy SEAL astronauts. So, these just amazing people, but also showing the human side of them, and that the families that are still here and dealing with a lot of grief and suffering. And I think America just needs to those stories need to be shared so they have a deeper appreciation of the sacrifice.
What does it take to be a SEAL?
What does it take to be a SEAL? I think it just takes tremendous mental toughness. It truly is. As much as you look at the physical requirements, it would make a normal person take a second glance, but it really is.
I was on my stair stepper today. Am I good?
No.
No, I knew you were going to say that. It's like, you laugh at that, right?
Yeah, I mean, we run probably 15 miles a day just to eat back and forth. So
we have no idea, do we?
It's just, but it's mental. It truly is mental.
Yeah.
That's why people ask me about women serving the SEAL teams, and I have no doubt in my mind that there are women that have the mental toughness to make it through.
Talk about mental toughness. Real quick, it takes leadership too. What's the number one leadership lesson you've learned in your life as a SEAL?
That excellence matters, and that it is a choice. I was interviewed by the Harvard Business Review the other day, and they asked me any advice I could give for companies that want to train to just moderation, and I said, look, that's not in my DNA. Like we aren't about that. We train to a very high standard. That way, when the guns start going off, you fall back to a very, very high level of training capability.
Give me 30 seconds on Chris Kyle.
Chris Kyle, I first met Chris when he was a new guy at SEAL Team 3, and we've got a couple Texans in the SEAL teams, and those guys are hard to miss, and just a larger-than-life character, loved by everybody.
Did the movie get it right, American Sniper?
I was pretty harsh on the movie from a technical point of view, but as far as the movie showing the sacrifice and the tough situations these guys are under, expected to make perfect decisions under incredibly tough situations, and then how it affects the families back home, I think the movie nailed it.
Brandon Webb, the author of Among Heroes, I want to thank you for joining us and sharing a very powerful and important story. Appreciate it during the public television
Thanks
family.
for having me.
Stay right there. One-on-One will continue in the heart of New York City right after this. Thank you very much.
One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation, celebrating over 25 years of broadcast excellence. This special edition of One-on-One with Steve Adubato is brought to you from the Tisch WNET studios at Lincoln Center. Funding has been provided by PNC Bank, Bloomfield College, United Water, Englewood Hospital and Medical Center, MD Advantage Insurance Company of New Jersey, Kessler Foundation, and by United Airlines. Transportation provided by Airbrook Limousine, serving the metropolitan New York, New Jersey area.